Hello guys, hope all is well. I'm just going to do an update about the market. There was two opportunities that were actually really nice this morning. So just going to go talk through them. So the first one, well, actually no, not the first one. On the video I posted the other day, I believe I was looking for dollar to come down, just a basic simple retracement to then go higher, only because of this low, high, high, low, high, 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 low. So kind of just following the structure. That was like a 30-minute, I believe. Yeah, it was kind of in here. So the area I was looking at did actually just get liquidated. Let's go, is it on an hourly? Okay, yeah. So on the hourly, I was kind of looking for this area to come down and get tested. We did actually just have a small liquidation of that area, but you can see we did actually just come in and test this small hourly demand zone, and then quite a nice fib test as well, and then pretty much just mooned and continuations from here. So depending on what happens going into New York, it's going to be quite interesting to see whether we're going to just absolutely keep continuing or if we're going to take the high and potentially head lower. So it's quite a crucial point now whether to see if we're actually really going to continue. I do want to see a strong closure above on the daily. This is pretty much all we've ever really been, or at the highest point it's ever been. So where the price actually does want to just continue a little bit higher on the weekly to then come down and continue. Again, we will see. We do have quite nice weekly zones that I would quite like to see get tested as well. We've broken major weekly highs at the moment. If we can end this week above this week high, that's going to be technically a break above. So after potentially going to summer, we could see kind of that downfall coming to this weekly and then potential continuations, but we will have to wait and see what happens. What we can also do is we can pull a fib into this imbalance also. Yeah, you can see, so we've got imbalance in here next to a nice demand zone, which you can see is called break structure. One thing I do like to do, I don't know if it's going to work on a weekly time frame, but we can try anyway. I really don't think it is. Okay, we're going to try anyway. So there's, where are we? Okay, cool. So I have done previous videos about this before. If you do want me to message you about these, this indicator, then please do. This indicator, I don't always use this indicator, but it is actually just quite a nice little tool and a little bit of an edge when you can be trading. So this is the fixed range fixed range. So you use the impulse from the low to the high, and you can see this is our break structure. This is our impulse. This is our range. So basically, what a lot of people think is that you trade off this red line, and that's actually wrong. This is just where the most amount of orders within like this current area are. That doesn't mean it's the most and the best place to be trading from, because if you guys know anyway, this was already a breaker structure before a lot of this happened. So it's this area isn't too important for me in my analysis anyway, because this didn't really cause any sort of strong break, because it was this candle that caused it, and then we actually started to pump up again. So if we're really kind of looking at higher highs and higher lows, we've got a high low, high high, looking for that higher low to then go higher high. Now this indicator, you can see these things on here. These things are called nodes. And can you see where there's one that literally just disappears? So this basically shows you the true imbalance within like a leg in price. And I can show you a few more examples again. If you want to see that video, just shout me. But this basically shows you where the true imbalance is. And most of the time, I like to be trading off imbalances or targeting imbalances that are within a demand or a supply area. So you can see we've got on this indicator that this node that needs to be filled, and price will come down and fill this. So I've got examples of this actually happening. So price will actually come down and fill this, and it's basically just an indicator to show you where like a real true imbalance is, because every imbalance is like, there's imbalances all over in the market, you know, there's loads of imbalances, but it's finding or knowing the correct one to actually kind of be really focusing on. And the ones I really like to be focusing on are the ones that are with supply and demand areas, because this is where the market has buyed and sold so strongly. And if there's a gap here that needs to be filled, that's also telling me that this demand zone needs to be filled as well. So it's kind of just another bit of an indication. So that's still quite good to see. So dropping it back down on the time frames, at this current moment, I am just going to be waiting for price to see what we are going to do, if we are actually going to really start breaking above this high, or if we are actually going to continue a little bit further down. We do have some demand in here which I potentially would like to see get filled. So I'm literally just going to whack mine on an hourly, wait, kind of see what happens with everything, if we're going to get a strong impulse above, or are we going to get a stronger liquidity raid to then potentially kind of pull back down. But so far it's looking quite strong, but again, anything literally can happen. So AU, this was actually a really nice trade. This is this morning. So if we kind of just go back on everything, just looking at basic structure, bearish, just looking for a retracement to then actually continue lower. I actually was looking at a few areas. I was actually looking for this small hourly to get filled. We do have some highs in here, and I was potentially thinking this high could have got run as well, but we didn't. That was going into yesterday. So going into yesterday, we had quite a big run. We came in and we tested this London high. So you can see going in the back of last week, price never really kind of tested anything. I mean, like we tested down here and things, and then going into the Asian, and then London, it just mooned. So a lot of this was the die-off that happened on Friday, the Asian session. So I just had that highlighted. I don't really need to have that highlighted because it's already here. So we had this supply flip because we had this breaker structure. I was potentially looking to see if price was gonna look to come down in the New York, mitigate, run one more time, and then come back down. But we didn't get that. Price kind of came in. We swept the lows. We had a 5-minute area in here, which you can see we've got validated by this move. But once we kind of had this impulse, price just kind of really kind of give us this correction back up. And you can see we had this old London high here. This was actually at 11:40, but this is going into the kind of end of like London open, if that makes sense. So this was going into kind of the end of London morning, like main bulk session, if you'd like to say. Price came down, we came up into the Asian session, we ran that London high, just barely missing this supply zone. And then we continued, we're coming down. We had this demand zone here, which you can see was the one that actually kind of caused this pump move. After price had taken off that high, we came down, generated more liquidity in the form of lows. We had the really nice supply zone that was created. You can see this is nothing more than just a lower time frame distribution when manipulating all the highs and breaking structure to the downside. What is a Wyckoff? Long story short, a Wyckoff is a manipulation of the highs and a breaker structure to the downside, or a breaker structure in some sort of direction. So we have our consolidation, our manipulation, breaker structure, test, and then our continuation back down. So that was a really nice basic. This is just a really nice demand and supply and demand flip. And in my opinion, these are probably like the nicest trades to actually take, because in my opinion, they're a lot higher probability trades. So this was actually a really nice setup going in from Asian and then going into London. You can see just like that big rollover is really cool to see. So euro pound, euro pound dropped way lower than I expected that to drop. So euro pound, we had our big run going in from last week. We came up and we tested and mitigated a really nice free hourly. And I didn't want to place a order above here because I'm not about having 45 pips as stop loss. If you do that, it's completely fine. And every person is like their own trading style. But for me personally, I don't like having a 45 pip stop loss. For me, 45 pips is a decent move. You know, if you got like a 4 pip stop loss, that's a 1 to 10 right there. So 45 pips for me, that's a little bit too much. And we just died. You can see today we opened and we literally just completely died. So 130 pips so far we've dropped from that 3 hourly. So as you can see, my target was only to here, and it is actually going a little bit further, but I do want to see if we're actually really going to break, or if we're actually going to manipulate and kind of test a little bit higher. So if we drop it down into the time frames, let's kind of talk about this trade. So yesterday we had price coming into Monday, we had all of these lows. This was our market open low. You can see generating liquidity under that. People would be buying off this yesterday as market opened. We did have some London highs, which I did think we were going to get around, but we didn't. Price come down. We come up into London, test of supply. We manipulated these highs in here, and then we actually just continued and crashed. Breaker structure. Now it was basically looking nothing more for the supply zone, which caused that breaker structure. So we had our London low, which was 845, that got manipulated. Well, not manipulated, that got broken through. Going into New York, this is our 1 o'clock New York. Well, not New York open, but it's kind of the pre New York timing. You can see on Euro Pound, it's like 6:30. This started to move just before the open. So going into New York, we had really kind of like this long correction move. I did actually have a sell limit just off here. Price started to come down. We started to break below this demand zone. I was like, okay, cool. Let's see what happens. And then prices coming up, we started generating highs. And I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to close it for the time being, because at this time it was late anyway. So the Euro Pound market had closed a while ago anyway. So there would have been no point having like a massive trade in there, to be honest. So we generated more highs going into London pre-open. We came in and swept old London high. We came down on a 5-minute time frame, started shifting small structures in here. We had this demand zone, this got invalidated, and we started generating more liquidity to the downside. And it was literally just off of 15 open, really, really nice test, literally 8 a.m. London open, and we literally just died. So this was Euro Pound. This was actually really, really nice trade to see. That was a nice 1-7 AU. That was a nice 1-4. So around like a 1-13 just for this morning. So it's not been a bad morning. But if you guys got any questions, please let me know. Oh yeah, sure. I haven't even told you where my targets are. I apologize. Okay, cool. So we had, this is our entry. This was one of my first targets that I was actually looking at. This is a market kind of closure to then when we actually ran, we swept liquidity in here, but we ran that. And then second target was just to this hourly imbalance. And then we kind of really just kind of started dying further. And then my last one was this 15-minute opening here. So if you guys got any questions, please let me know. Feel free to fire away. I will be happy to help you as much as I can. I will keep everyone updated to see. I'm going to be quite excited to see what happens with these pairs. If Euro Pound is just manipulating, or if we're going to break. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting to see what happens this week. But if you guys got any questions, please let me know. Feel free to fire away and I'll help you as much as I can. All right, guys.